Quick observations from the scrimmage, before we watch it on tape. I thought the defense started real fast. I thought they did a good job. I think as we go forward, we need to find a running back who can hold on to the ball. All three of our top running backs today put the ball on the ground. I think we lost one of them, but every time it's on the ground, it's unacceptable. So that's my biggest concern right now at the running back position is we just didn't do a good enough job securing the football. I thought that at receiver, I thought Karan and Leonte and Miles made plays when they had the opportunity to make plays. That's exciting. And I think all three of those guys can be playmakers in our offense, and it gives us more depth as we go forward. We still have some younger guys, I think, that can be a little more consistent. Ruhan and Carlton, as they get more consistent, they'll be able to help us as well. And I think we're building a nice stable there. I think we got to protect better up front. I don't think we did a very good job protecting today. We're certainly not game planning against each other, but I thought with the amount of time we'd spent practicing against each other, we would have done a better job with some of the blitzes that we saw today. So that's something that we're going to have to spend some time to get better at this week. The last week we really got to practice with them before spring, and I thought some of those young quarterbacks really showed well today as they got an opportunity to play. We tried to play as long as we could, as long as the numbers really would allow us to play. But we still, with 5 quarterbacks in that room, we're going to have to do everything we can this week to try to set that depth chart as we go forward into the fall training camp. Questions?
How about the way Gary has finishing up this run?
I'm very pleased with the way Gary played today. I thought he probably the best thing we did today as an offense in general was not allow the way the scrimmage started to be the way the scrimmage ended. And I've seen that happen before with different teams that I've been a part of, where they can't ever dig themselves out of the hole, or the momentum gets so overwhelming they can't ever get it back. But I thought they did a good job today as an offense in general. We didn't start as well as we would like to, but they didn't allow that to affect them as they went forward.
Now, beyond the running backs putting the ball on the ground, what are your thoughts on the production in the running game?
It's not good enough. I don't think it's good enough right now. I think we've probably, in our attempt to build depth, we probably have so many players playing with the first group that we're lacking a little bit of continuity on offense. When you roll an offense, when you roll a lineman through, when you roll a tight end through, when you roll the fullbacks through, it is building depth. And I think in the long run it's going to help us, but I think we've sacrificed some productivity right now because of it.
Is part of the concern at running back also health at this point? Dante getting hurt today?
I'm not concerned about that long term. Certainly for Tuesday I'm a little concerned, but long term I feel like we'll be healthy, and Justin Goodwin's on the way. That'll give us more depth, and I'd be anxious to see what he can do for us in the fall also.
Are you contemplating is it too late to contemplate position changes or moving guys around, shuffling a little bit?
I don't anticipate any position changes right now. I don't know, as we evaluated at the end, maybe. I don't know that I would do it for the last week of spring. Ian Thomas, Marquise Wright, I think those are 2 we made beforehand. I like the direction both those guys are going in. At this point in the spring, I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't anticipate it.
Okay.
Tackling some of your secondary guys and some of the linebackers today look pretty good.
It's really defensive football probably starts with effort, and then the second thing you mentioned is the ability to tackle. So that's a good sign for us, and if we get enough guys to the ball, we'll be able to get people on the ground.
Hey, speaking of linebackers, Steve, just thoughts on him. It seemed like he was getting to the ball a lot today.
Stephen Longa? He false started on the first punt. But at middle linebacker, he looks good. I think he gets a little bit better each week, and probably every day as he gets more reps. And I think Lester Liston has done a good job also. I think he took some steps forward today, and that'll help build some depth. Because ideally, if his helmet came off and he had to come out for a play, it'd be great to have another guy you could put in the game instead of switching 2 people around to get that done. But you always do have to get the best players out there.
Is it possible that the drop-off at linebacker as a unit might not be as great as it appears on paper with the loss of Kaz and Baharnas, the way the guys are playing now?
I think especially in college football, where your players change so dramatically every year because of graduation and recruiting, there's a tendency to think of it as having to replace players. And you certainly have to replace the players on the field, but I think from a production standpoint on defense, we can be as good as we want to be on defense. And I think that is, it's not any slight at guys like Kasim Green and Steve Barnes, who are tremendous players. But I think we've got some talented players in the program still, and if they continue to mature, we'll have a chance to be very, very productive on defense. It may not be skewed the way it was last year in terms of numbers. We may not have the one player whose numbers are so great, but I think as a defensive unit we could be very effective.
Got time for 2 more? You see some young guys figure it out, like Miles Jackson or Galton or Hagedis trying to show signs of consistency.
I think that's the best part of spring. A guy like Colton Agadosi, although he's not where he needs to be just yet, is getting better, and he's probably benefiting from the absence of Brandon Coleman more than anybody else because he's absorbing a lot of those reps.